Welcome to the Imperium of Man Daycare, also known as the Imperium of I'm Just a Baby. Please stay. On October 10th of 2007, Valve decided to completely change the entire gaming industry by releasing something called the Orange Box. On a single disc, you got Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Portal 1, and Team Fortress 2. Three of these games, Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2 were brand new releases. And these 5 total games went on to influence gaming in ways that we still see to this very day. Without Half-Life 2 pushing the envelope of first-person storytelling, we wouldn't have the VR poster girl that is Half-Life Alyx. Without Portal, we wouldn't have games like the Stanley Parable or the Talos Principle. And without TF2, we wouldn't have live service, class-based shooters, and loot crates. But regardless, in terms of first-person shooters, TF2 is one of the, if not the most influential game in the history of the genre. And because of this, I would happily let my 4 young children, all elementary school age or primary if you're in the UK, I'd let them all play this game despite its ESRB rating of mature. Welcome to M-rated games I'd let my kids play, a obviously titled series where I talk about M-rated games that I played before I was 17 years old, and why I'd honestly probably let my kids do the same. If you want to know my judging criteria, I'd recommend checking out the first video I did as kind of a pilot episode. I spend time talking about the kind of content my kids are currently exposed to using the old adage of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'm not going to repeat it all now because it's going to add like 10 minutes to this video, but I will be folding a lot of it in as the subjects themselves come back up in future videos and games. I decided for this series going forward for now to do shorter videos focusing on a single game as opposed to longer ones talking about multiple games. This will give me more content to work on, and it'll give me a chance to dive into specific games and moments to talk about what they mean to me in a more personal and greater context. So before we talk about the why, let's spend a little bit of time talking about the how and how we got here. Team Fortress 2 traces its roots back to 1998 when it was initially announced as a standalone game to be powered by Valve's revolutionary sourcing. However, the game's development journey was far from straightforward. It was marred by delays and frequent changes in its creative direction. Throughout its development, TF2 underwent multiple iterations, each featuring its own distinctive art style and gameplay mechanics. One version of it envisioned it as a realistic military shooter with vehicles and command points, while another explored a sci-fi theme with aliens and futuristic weaponry. Which is also kind of interesting to think about because all of these elements eventually got folded into the current game that we have now, albeit in its own distinctive style and fashion. TF2's dev story is obviously tied to its predecessor, Team Fortress Classic, or TFC, which originated as a mod for Half-Life back in 1999. The roots in TFC are also traced back to the original Quake Team Fortress mod, which was created for Quake way back in 1996. The original Team Fortress mod introduced the gaming world to the idea of a class-based multiplayer shooter, allowing players to select from 9 distinct classes, each equipped with its own unique set of weapons and abilities. Around the time of TF2's development, arena shooters like Quake and Doom and Duke Nukem were at the forefront of first-person shooter games, back when they were called, Doom-likes. But my personal GOAT is probably going to be Unreal Tournament, with Unreal Tournament 2K4 being my first introduction and foray into objective-based, team-based first-person shooter. And yeah, I was technically way too young to be playing these games when they first came out, since they were rated M for mature. But here we are, and for me to say that my kids can't play similar games would very much make me a hypocrite. Especially when we're talking about the violence here. To be quite frank, yes, there's a lot of blood and stuff, but the gibs, whatever you want to call them, the chunks of meat that occasionally happen when someone is killed in a spectacular fashion, it's pretty comical, to be quite honest, and it just very much reminds me more of like a very violent, itchy and scratchy cartoon than something that is like Outlast. And for those who don't know, arena shooters are a subgenre of shooters and multiplayer games that has a very large emphasis on fast-paced movement within a very enclosed map space with very symmetrical and very specific designs. This fosters intense engagements among players, and it causes very fast, very frantic instant kills, respawn kill gameplay. These games are pretty much epitomized by the format that we now call deathmatch, trying to get to a certain amount of kills before the other team or the other players. Some of the staples of the arena shooter are scattered weapons, ammos, and power-ups throughout the map, very fast, frenetic, Twitch-like gameplay, and an emphasis in movement on mobility and speed, which is where we started getting things like rocket jumping, rocket strafing, and a lot of the mechanics that started to find its way into games like Team Fortress. Once TF2 was released and it started making the waves and started becoming a solidified bona fide hit, it made significant impacts in the gaming industry by spearheading a shift towards team-based gameplay. Its introduction of distinct character classes, each with unique roles and abilities, set the stage for a new era in shooters. TF2's emphasis on teamwork and coordination influenced the genre landscape, steering players away from traditional free-for-all deathmatches commonly found in arena-type shooters. The game's success highlighted the potential for engaging team dynamics in multiplayer shooters, prompting developers to explore team-oriented gameplay mechanics. However, TF2's influence coincided with the diversification of shooter genres, making the second factor in the transformation of the gaming landscape. The rise of tactical shooters like Counter-Strike and the emergence of hero shooters like Overwatch, a direct influence of TF2, demonstrated a growing appetite for varied gaming experiences. The traditional arena shooter, with its singular focus on individual skills and fast-paced action, faced challenges in capturing the attention of a gaming audience increasingly drawn to the strategic depth and team dynamics offered in these new genres and games. Simultaneously, I would argue that TF2 laid a lot of the foundational groundwork that led to the rise of esports and competitive gaming that we saw, a while ago, not so much as today. While a lot of the focus shifted over towards titles like Counter-Strike, Dota, and Overwatch, which was a lot more built for these team-based competitive scenes, it once again proved that the shift in attention and emphasis was once again going from individual, almost kind of like trick shot personalities, to something more team-based, where we saw the emergence of these team brands, these organizations, where the team that you were playing for meant just as much, if not more, than your individual skills. And I think part of the reason that Team Fortress 2 was kind of the turning point for this change of gaming, at least, in the shooter realm, was because how almost perfect each of the 9 classes are. Like, it cannot be understated that, for the most part, balancing in this game is damn near perfect. Each class has its own set of strengths and weaknesses and playstyles and all that, but they each have an equally powerful counter. And when you start bringing in things like team composition and different skill sets and items and subclasses, it just becomes an interesting, chaotic mess that, just like the universe, it still somehow all works together into something that is technically cohesive, but at the same time random and chaotic. So beyond the realm of competitive gaming, TF2 made its mark in meme culture as well. The game's quirky characters, humorous dialogue, and memorable moments became a breeding ground for internet memes. From the Meet the Team videos to in-game quotes, TF2's humor transcended the gaming community, permeating the broader online culture. TF2 wasn't just a game, it was a pioneer in reshaping the business model of future titles as well. The decision to transition from a paid game to a free-to-play model in 2011 was absolutely groundbreaking at the time. TF2 demonstrated that a free game could thrive through its in-game cosmetics and player-driven economy. And this move set the stage for other titles, most notably other Valve titles like CSGO and Dota 2. TF2's in-game economy, centered around cosmetic items, became the blueprint for the wider gaming industry. I think a ripple effect of this would be the success of Dota's 2 International Compendium, or TI Compendium. The compendium itself was a battle pass. It was a battle pass that as you played more, you unlocked more stuff for your account. What was really nice about it was that if you paid into this battle pass, which is I think between $5 or $10 the first time it came out, you were contributing to the overall prize pool for the international tournament. So in a way, you were helping with your dollars prove that esports was something essentially worth investing in. And I mean, I would say TF2's impact goes beyond just monetary and mechanical. I'd say that it extends to art style and character design as well. The game served as the trailblazing example for its source filmmaker, or SFM, and this was also kind of the predecessor to Gary's Mod, which people used to make some of the most infamous shitposts in internet history. And all of this way before the current use of source filmmaker, which is to make certain types of movies that I can't mention in front of my children or in front of YouTube. So take from that what you will. Also, I've just always really been a fan of TF2's unique visual style, inspired by a lot of mid-century design and classic animation. I would almost compare it to like The Incredibles, which came out after. I don't remember if it came out after or before, but basically once I saw The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2, it's like, wait, this is just like Team Fortress 2. Now, when we talk about TF2's characters, we're not just talking about your average video game avatars. TF2's setting is like a time machine hurling us back into a mix of 1960s style aesthetics sprinkled in with a little bit of futuristic elements. Imagine classic mid-century design meeting with imaginative sci-fi inspired gadgets and weapons. It is, in my opinion, a very nice aesthetic that brings together the best of both worlds. The characters themselves, I would say, are very much inspired by the golden age of animation. Think Disney, Warner Brothers, and Hanna-Barbera. TF2's character designs echo the exaggerated proportions and distinct silhouettes that made those classic cartoons so memorable and recognizable to this very day. Each character is quite the visual masterpiece in a way, emphasizing specific traits that not only reflect their roles and personalities, but contribute to the clarity of gameplay as a whole. You'll spot a TF2 character from a mile away. That's how instantly recognizable they are. And in terms of just gameplay, being able to just briefly scan the battlefield and being able to tell kind of a general idea of what's going on just by the outlines and where they're moving, it really speaks to how much information that you can discern from a single picture. But TF2 just doesn't stop there. It takes cues from the real world too. Ever notice the wartime propaganda vibes in those promotional materials and character designs? The announcer herself? Picture a general pushing you forward, cheering on your victories, and yelling at you in defeat. It's a touch of wartime motivation wrapped in a gaming package. And another very obvious influence of the aesthetics of TF2 is the influence of pop art and Silver Age comics. Bold colors, sharp outlines, and typography straight out of comic book panels. TF2's larger-than-life characters and their distinct visual identities, they definitely echo the style prevalent in retro mediums like comic books, pulp fiction novels, and old-school movies and cartoons. And I would say that this influence also extends to the game's gadgets, technology, and weaponry. Now, I feel like TF2 wears a lot of its cultural references and influence, and not in a bad way, but stereotypes, it wears them on its sleeve. It's a game that knows the culture of the time that it takes place in, blending classic spy movie vibes with Western cowboy tropes and just a lot of modern wartime propaganda and vibes. These references just aren't nods to the past, they contribute to the diverse and distinct personalities of TF2's characters. To once again bring it back, it's like playing the itchy and scratchy version of an old school Saturday morning cartoon. You know, the really old ones that included cigar ads. That's how old I'm talking here. It's a complementary juxtaposition to the bright and cartoony media of the time, which put a weird sheen and kind of weird gloss over the turmoil and strife of things like World War II and other stuff that was going on during the 50s and 60s. Civil rights. And here's how it all blends together. Despite the diverse and vibrant art style, TF2 maintains very good visual consistency. It's like a Renaissance painting where all the elements from characters to environments just blend seamlessly. But at the same time, you can look at different parts of the painting and each of it tells its own story. The art direction ensures a cohesive experience, contributing to a unified and immersive gaming world. Every item, every weapon, and every map that has been added to the game since it came out nearly 20 years ago has felt right at home with the overall art style, no matter how ridiculous or overpowered or just stupid the weapon may be. So I'm gonna do just kind of a quick overview of the 9 different classes, each of them that bring their own distinct flavor of death to the battlefield. And each class has actually impacted gaming in its own way, I would argue. From the annoying little brother that is the scout to the literal mother lover that is the spy, these characters have become iconic in the gaming world. And these 9 folks have contributed to TF2's status as a timeless masterpiece. So I'm just gonna talk about each of the different roles, kind of their play style. And that way, if you for some reason have never picked up this game, you at least have an idea of what class you might want to start with. So first, let's start with the Scout. Homeboy here is basically the Usain Bolt of the TF2 universe. He is the fastest and most agile of the classes because of his signature double jump, but he's also the weakest in terms of health, being able to be taken out with basically a couple hits. Also, along with his double jump, he can capture points faster, use his scatter gun, pistol, and bat to deal high damage at close range. And he is basically perfectly made for flanking, harassing, and picking off key targets such as medics, snipers, and engineers. If you enjoy a playstyle that is based on mobility, dodging, and aiming with, just a couple quick pop-pops, Scout's probably going to be your guy. Basically, if you took your annoying little brother that you always said was adopted, and he really was adopted and came from Boston, you got the Scout. And I mean, in terms of meme culture, Scout's the reason that we got the bonk. Bonk! So when someone sends you to, that jail and they say bonk, you can thank the Scout for that. Next, we have the Soldier. He's pretty much America, rockets, and the personification of just waving in a general direction and saying, I don't know, just shoot somewhere in that general area. Soldier, however, is a very versatile and powerful class. He has a high health pool, he has his signature rocket launcher that can deal splash damage, and also you can utilize that splash damage to launch himself into the air with his signature rocket jump. Yeah, if you know Freddie Wong and his stuff, that rocket jump. And I will also say the rocket jump is a holdover from the Quake days where, as I mentioned earlier in the video, like rocket strafing and rocket jumping were some of the mechanics that people kind of invented within the game itself. They were able to utilize the tools that were handed to them and used it to basically just create a new game. Now, the Soldier's role is to deal damage, do suppression fire, and help initiate fights using his rocket jumping ability to surprise and overwhelm the enemies. He's also great in initiating those giant pushes that really help get your team into those final little checkpoints or objectives that usually are roadblocked by a bunch of engineers or just a really, really solid defense. If you like to play games where there's an emphasis on positioning, timing, and prediction, then you might want to check out the Soldier. Especially if the whole rocket jumping mechanic seems pretty cool to you. Yeah, you definitely want to check out the Soldier because some of the stuff that he can do with a well-equipped rocket jump is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, number 3, we have the Pyro. Have you ever heard a person in a gas mask say trans rights? The pyro is a close range specialist with a flamethrower that can ignite enemies, a shotgun to finish them off, and a fire axe that can crit burning foes. They can also use their flamethrower's compression blast to reflect projectiles, extinguish allies, and push back enemies. Pyro's main role is to ambush, disrupt, and most importantly, spy check. And by spy check I mean just puff little pieces of fire around everywhere, hoping that maybe you'll just catch some random person on fire that you can just finish them off with. The pyro's playstyle is based on, I would argue, stealth, awareness, map knowledge, and map memorization, and reaction. Because you're really going to need good reaction time to get those reflex off. But when you do, oh baby, you feel like the greatest gamer in the world. Another class that I probably have the most amount of time in, Demoman. The Demoman is a master of explosives with a grenade launcher that can bounce grenades off walls, a sticky bomb launcher that can set traps and detonate them remotely, along with doing a sticky jump, and by default, a bottle that can smash heads in. But you know, me personally, I prefer having one of those handheld grenades. As I stated, his sticky bomb launcher can make his mobility to getting from A to B just smooth. A well-timed sticky jump can get you across the map in record time, which allows you to basically be back into the action quicker. I'd say that the Demoman's main role is to deal massive damage, deny areas, destroy buildings, and using the explosive to create opportunities for the team, whether it be defensive or offensive. He's also great for suppression fire, controlling choke points, and supporting pushes. If you like a playstyle that is based on strategy, accuracy, a little bit of physics, and anticipation, then you'll probably love Demoman. I would probably say the most famous character from the entire franchise, the heavy weapons guy, he's next. So, heavy weapons guy is a man mounted with a minigun. The heavy is the strongest and toughest class in the entire game. They have the highest health pool and a minigun that can just absolutely shred enemies from close to medium range. With one look at the design of the heavy, you can obviously tell that he's made to be the tank and anchor of this game. Being a scout or a spy, running into this giant ass dude is seriously absolutely intimidating. Just by his sheer presence alone and his minigun, he can draw attention and fire away from the rest of his team. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be a walking tank that can still be surprisingly agile, Heavy Weapons Guy is your hulking companion. The playstyle, I'd say, is really based on endurance, teamwork, aggression, and being able to hold down the right mouse button to stay spun up. Another crowd favorite and the origin of the Nope.avi, we have the Engineer. The Engineer is the handyman of TF2, armed with a shotgun, a wrench, a PhD, and a PDA. You have a recipe for mechanical mayhem. The Engineer is like the MacGyver of the TF2 world, but way more sentry guns and way less duct tape. If you like sitting in holes in the wall with a whole bunch of stuff that makes you feel safe and secure, check out the Engineer. Building contraptions and fixing things is your jam? Then yeah, this is probably going to be the guy that you want to start out with. I would honestly say that he is, for the most part, pretty beginner friendly. If you just focus on setting up your teleporter, setting up your dispenser, and starting to learn the map by finding good spots for your sentries. As in the name, the Engineer is a builder, which makes him a really good support class. And as you start getting different equipment for the Engineer himself, you can start utilizing things like little mini sentries, which are great for a more aggressive playstyle. I would say that the Engineer's role is to provide area denial, logistics, and utility using the buildings to help the team and hinder the enemies. They are absolutely crucial for holding those bottleneck checkpoints during things like payload. He can also repair, relocate, and destroy his buildings as needed, which provides a really useful sense of mobility as the battlefield is constantly changing. If you enjoy games that are based on resource management, resource placement, and just constant adaptation, check out the NG. Another one of my mains, Medic. As you can tell, I really like support classes. Here's a tip for anyone for future interviews, and this is definitely a pro tip if you've made it this far in the video. So whenever I do things like job interviews and stuff like that, and they talk about, your strengths or your weaknesses, what I like to do is basically equate my strengths to gaming. I really like support roles. I really like lifting others up through my means. I like being able to say, hey, you know that moment that you had in the sun? Yeah, that's because of me. So I like support roles. So when people are talking to me during job interviews or stuff like that, I just basically say, my strengths really lie in supporting people. In video games, MMOs, and even Dungeons and Dragons, I play a support role. For D&D, I play the Dungeon Master, which means that a lot of my focus is making sure that I do a lot of the background work and make it so my players have their moment where they are the heroes, where they basically change the entire world. But it's because of me in the background prepping everything and getting it all set up, do they have that moment to shine. So, like I said, if you're in a future job interview and they ask you about, your strengths or something along the lines of, what type of role do you like to be in? Just talk about your favorite role in whatever game you like to play. If you like to play the tank, talk about how you like to take on a lot of that pressure and stuff. You like to play the healer? Make sure that your team is constantly topped off on energy or motivation or what have you. Equate it to your role in team-based games. But back with the medic. If you've ever played a support role in a game and thought, I wish I could heal and taunt my enemies, medic is a prescription that you didn't know that you needed. The medic is a healer in a support class, obviously. And with a medigun that can heal and overheal allies, he is probably the most important role in the entire game. His most important ability, I guess his ultimate that you could say, would be his medigun's Ubercharge, which grants himself and his patient invulnerability, critical hits, increased healing, or resistance depending on which healing gun he is using. But I would definitely say the Ubercharge is the most influential, impactful ability in the entire game. You have a medic that has an Ubercharge, you have a near guarantee that you can clear out an enemy nest, or basically clear out an area so that you can continue on with your mission. He can coordinate, prioritize, and retreat as necessary, and in a lot of the ways, I would say the medic is kind of the quarterback of the game. You have a medic who has an Ubercharge, and they, or at least half competent, they're going to be calling a lot of those game-winning play shots. So because of that, I would say the medic's playstyle is based on decision-making, communication, and overall survival. So just remember, an Ubercharge is the best medicine in 9 out of 10 situations. Okay, so final two. So next up, we have the sniper. Pretty self-explanatory, I would say, but there's still, at least with TF2, there's still a little bit more to it. Sniper is a guy who turned being a good shot into an art form. Armed with the sniper rifle and an uncanny ability to find the perfect headshot, he is the embodiment of precision. And he also collects jars of peat. The sniper is a long-range specialist with a sniper rifle that can charge up and headshot enemies. He also comes with a submachine gun that is the epitome of spray and pray, and his signature kukuri knife that can chop and chop like the chop fruit. The sniper's role is to hang back and eliminate key targets such as medics, heavies, and engineers, using his sniper rifle scope and accuracy to take them down from a safe distance. Despite what people think about snipers, he can also support his team, spot enemies, and counter other snipers. The sniper's playstyle as you would assume, is very much based on aim, patience, and positioning. And if you like playing snipers in other games, then this will probably be the choice for you. Alright, so last but not least, we have probably the most unique class in any video game. As far as I can tell, I can't think of a single game that has actually replicated or done anything close to the spy. If I'm wrong, leave a comment down below. And if I'm right, don't forget to like and subscribe. Last and not least, we have the spy. The suave Frenchman who's more interested in backstabs and backshots with your mother than baguettes. If you've ever dreamed of being a secret agent with a penchant for dramatic reveals, as obviously implied in the name, the spy is a stealth and sabotage class. Armed with a revolver, a knife, a disguise kit, and an electronic sapper, this is probably the most impactful class in the game. The spy's disguise kit is probably the most impactful item in the entire game. It allows him to disguise himself as not only someone on his own team, but as somebody on the opposing team as well. And with an invisibility watch that allows him to turn invisible for a brief moment in time, this class is able to cause so much havoc, destruction, and just absolute team rage based on their shenanigans alone. I briefly mentioned this, but the spy also has a sapper, which makes him the perfect counter to engineer. Spy can go disguised as someone on the opposing team, go to the spawn point, take the enemy's teleporter, and then just go there and just demolish everything in a matter of seconds. As someone who plays a lot of engineer, it is the bane of my existence. And having to sit there and tell people to constantly spy check so I can make it so they can get to the battlefield faster, oh my god, I'm just getting angry thinking about it. The spy's role is to infiltrate, assassinate, disrupt, and just cause overall panic and havoc. Find enemy lines and just take out high value targets, just wiping out entire teams in a matter of seconds. If you enjoy those social deduction games where you can go in there and completely fuck with people and just troll them to no end, you might be a spy. It's probably the most difficult class to learn in the game, but because of that, it makes it the most rewarding. To me, one of the reasons that Team Fortress 2 was such a big influence is that between the 9 different classes, you really got to find out what your first-person shooter playstyle was. Each class played completely differently, and some would even say that each different class was its own different game. The class that you picked basically approached how you see the maps, how you see the enemies, how you basically see the entire game, and then add in the different modes themselves. Like being an engineer playing payload is going to be a completely different experience than it would be as a scout doing payload. And in teaching you these different play styles and different first-person shooter styles, it also taught you how you can be effective during a match by utilizing the strengths of your character's individual abilities, along with the weapon loadout that you have at that time. While me being an old TF2 player, I'm, whatever about all the different weapons and stuff like that, I will say, a lot of it really does change the way that you play the game. So, to me, Team Fortress 2 isn't just a game. It's a timeless experience that offers more than just chaotic battles and witty banter. It's a platform for self-discovery, a playground where your kids can learn about their preferred playstyles, not just in team-based shooters, but in various aspects of life. From the supportive roles of medic and engineer to the strategic decisions that echo in MMOs or dungeon mastering, TF2 becomes a gateway to understanding one's strengths and preferences. Moreover, As your kids immerse themselves in the world of TF2, they'll find that the memes and humor become a shared language, creating a unique bond between generations. Just like trends and styles, internet memes become generation encyclical, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences. The humor that echoes through voice chat and emotes may just be a reinterpretation of something that their parents already experienced and couldn't stop talking about. I personally have a grand memeified thesis that just like trends and styles, internet memes will be generational and cyclical. Skibbity Toilet has already proved this, Rickroll has proved this, and Hideo has proved this as well several times over. Memes are the DNA of the soul, and the memes that we ingest and embody become the memes of our children, biological or otherwise. While the gaming community has its challenges, including the inevitable judgment that comes with parenting decisions, TF2 stands as a testament to the enduring appeal of well-crafted gameplay. As you encounter young players navigating the depths of a game with 2 decades of history, remember to be understanding. It's a sign that TF2's legacy is alive and well, with younger generations eager to contribute to its vibrant community. Yes, the bots and lack of updates may leave much to be desired, but the core gameplay remains unchanged and as tight like a tiger as ever. Team Fortress 2 has defied the test of time, providing a bridge between generations and proving that even after 17 years, it can feel as fresh and exciting as it did on day 1. So the next time you hear the voice of a young player in the world of TF2, acknowledge their curiosity and enthusiasm, for they may be the ones ensuring the legacy of this iconic game. As a parent, I find solace in letting my children explore this digital realm, for the most part, knowing that within the chaos of TF2 lies a world of lessons, laughter, and shared memories. So this is the end. Thank you very much for taking your time with me today. I really appreciate all of the new people that have joined this channel since I've made my last video. I hope you like this one. If there's other games or other M-rated games that you feel like are at least worth the discussion in regards to letting a young child play it, let me know. My personal list of M-rated games is like 60 to 70 long, so I have a lot of games that we can talk about here, which I'm really excited about. So if that sounds like your jam, like, subscribe, blah blah blah, so that way you can get notified when I upload a new part of this series. So I've held you long enough, so I'm gonna, say the goodbyes, do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, share, I already said that, but let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. I am constantly trying to improve and just make things better to make it a more enjoyable experience for you. We're halfway for me to being able to do partner stuff, and we're a quarter of the way to hitting 1,000, which is awesome. So yeah, that's probably going to be my goal for 2024. Let's hit 1,000 subs, and let's go ahead and, let's really start this shit. So yeah, for the final time, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, until the next one. Peace. Bye. Thank you.